YouTube. I am Shaggy, I am Philalitheia, and I'm headed home. Long day. Today felt like a long day because I got a lot done. I got a lot done today. I gotta put on music. Give me a second. I got a lot done relative to... I got a lot of finished product on the channel relative to where I've been in recent days. So that feels good. Nice to feel productive. Nice to feel like I got something accomplished today. So there's, for those who only watch the first few minutes of these, I'm certain I'm going to repeat myself, but there's a new Believers grind up on the channel. Rach and I played Final Fantasy V. That is open to all the Believers here on the Patreon. That is $100 a month. That's for the members. That'll be up on Saturday. And then I also have I have a members only, and it's only ever going to be members only, Kingdoms of Amalur Let's Play up. That's one of my very favorite games. It really informed a lot of my opinions, a lot of who I am as an adult. And I bought and downloaded it. I bought and downloaded it on a whim because we're approaching Christmas and I wanted it. So I bought and downloaded it. I also have Kingdom Hearts, the 1.5 and 2.5 final mixes for the same reasons. Also Shadow of Mordor for the same reasons. Those are going to be games that I can't play from homelessness. It doesn't make sense. And I didn't appreciate how inefficient the code of many of these AAA games is. I didn't fully consider why so many PC gamers bitch about the size of games that are primarily console games. It's because they're many times larger than they need to be because they have the disc. Sometimes they're not even packaged on discs. They have the console, and the console gamer isn't paying attention. The console gamer doesn't care. I didn't care. Have never cared until I realized how bloated Kingdoms of Amalur, Shadow of Mordor, for some reason they have all of the Kingdom Hearts games set to download in one file. So even if you're only wanting to play the first game, you have all of the games on your hard drive. That doesn't make sense. Hello, Swordfroge. The Mass Effect trilogy is the same way. You can get the Mass Effect trilogy for $6, but it's a 200 gig download or 120 gig download or something like that. It's insane. I'm glad that Squeenix didn't do that with the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster Anthology. If you had to download all 6 of them in order to play any individual one, that would be really fucking annoying. I'm glad they didn't do that. But like Kingdoms of Amalur, Shadows of Mordor, Doom 2016, Kingdom Hearts. I bought a bunch of AAA games from the last time I was engaged in video games. So a long time ago, but the last time I was really engaged in a meaningful way, and they're huge. They're 10 years old, and they're I don't know, executables. They're just a massive hard drive load, and I can't believe that they need to be that massive. But that does explain why they're so buggy, and that does explain why they're so difficult to patch. That absolutely explains it. WoW was never that big, even at the time. WoW was like a 30 or 50 gig download. Maybe I'm wrong, but even now, WoW's only like 50 or 60 gigs. I can put it on I could have it on my computer right now. It would fit. I have the hard drive space. It doesn't make sense that these games were so big, but that they're so big, it absolutely explains why they're so limited. So that's where I'm at. I spent the night tonight watching Monday Night Football and playing Civilization 6. I'd really like to play for the channel, but the system memory it requires to play the game ultimately it's itself cached to the point that my video card no longer has enough system memory to run. So I just can't. I can't run Civ on the Surface. I have to get a real computer. I didn't play any 7 days today. I played nothing. I played Civ 6, and I edited Kingdoms of Amalur. So that's on the channel for members. Tomorrow I'm going to work on getting something front-facing for the public, for the casual viewer, casual subscriber. And the future of the channel is going to look a little bit different than what I thought it would. I was hoping to get into a 5 or 7 day rotation so I could calendar out my life. And it seems like what generates views, what generates a little bit of an income, and what people seem to want from me is to see me play these games at end level with little context about the game, very little context about the game. And I've kind of been saying that for a while, but it really doesn't make sense to watch me play some of these games, especially from the beginning, because I'm an expert in very few of them, and I'm not a power player. I have my own power fantasies. I have my own things that I enjoy getting out of video games, and some of my results can be very spectacular. But I do, for example, like to let the game fight back. So one thing that I like to do is I just like to get massive amounts of experience. I like to weigh out level a game. I find that enjoyable in its own right. And so that there is a power play, power gaming in that. But for me, it's having, perk points or whatever, abilities that you're not supposed to have that early. Rather supposed to have, or that fights aren't balanced for that early. And then another thing I like to do is I like to go into fights underprepared, because the experience gain, rather underprepared as far as my level, because the experience gains are more they're more spectacular. They look bigger. You get 75% of a level for killing a boss feels cooler than getting 25% of a level because you're appropriately leveled to the fight. Those are the kind of things I like to do, and I've been told by the people who've watched a lot of my material that really the best time of watching me play a game is when I'm having fun, regardless of what I'm doing or how I'm competing within the wider cultural context of professional gamers. That what's fun to watch is when I'm having fun. And so I've been showing you my 7 Days to Die Horde nights, worrying a lot less about the future of that. Hey, T-Rex. No, I'm not in the mountains. That's taut. That's a lot of weight. It's more taut than I would like it to be. I'm not doing anything about it tonight. It's not particularly taut. That might be taut like that because it's cold. I think it's okay. There's not a lot of wiggle room. Don't worry about that. Please don't be telling me. Okay. I don't know how you saw behind me when the camera was pointed in front of me, Transicorn. know if you know how optics work. This is where I sleep, Tickle. And I made the right choice. My bottle of water is a block of ice. Yeah. Could have seen that coming. Did see that coming. Prepared for that eventuality. I have a bottle of water. Just asked me if I live here, and I said yes, that this is where I sleep, and then you asked me where I live. So why did I answer the first question? Yeah, T-Rex. My video wasn't really about sparking so much as it was about gun owners, but yes, sparking is a thing people did. That guy's video was about sparking. This time, I think it will go just fine. We won't let you leave this way. If you want, you can feel it. You can have it. I will put it right there in your hands. Cold as shit. Okay. Oops. That's not what I wanted to happen there. Bing, 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 bing. So I think you guys know the deal by now. How this is going to go is I have other things I want to be doing with my time. I don't feel like reading. It is too fucking cold for that, frankly. So I'm gonna hang out here with you nerds while I get warm until the conversation dries up. I feel like reading, or I overwhelmingly want to be somewhere else. If I overwhelmingly want to be somewhere else, I'm gonna do that. And what I need to be playing is Factorio. Mr. S, I will. The problem with Factorio for me is that everything is very small, and so it leaves my back and my eyes hurting from having to squint at the screen. And now I know what you're saying to yourself, but it's just an hour of your life. Yep. And it's an hour of my life where if I can't be comfortable and I can't focus, I'm going to be looking at the clock to see, is it time to end? Is it time to end? Is it time to end? And I'm not going to be trying to be funny. And I'm not going to be a good watch. Because I'm not having fun. I want to be somewhere else. And as I've addressed already this video, I have been told that I am at my most engaging, my most watchable, and the easiest to tip. I am the most tippable, subscribable, whatever. I'm the best version of me, the best received version of me when I'm having fun. So, I'm just going to chase what's fun to me. I'm going to show up here at night after about 1 o'clock. When Taco Bell closes, it's 2 o'clock on the weekends, Friday, Saturday. Whew. And then while I get comfortable in the tent, you're gonna get 30 minutes of my life, my time. If that time and attention are reciprocated, appropriate to my position as a religious person and a public intellectual, then I will stay. And if not, I will find other ways to service you. Oh, I'm not leaving yet, T-Rex, that's what I'm saying. I'm staying so long as the conversation is here, which means you, T-Rex, you're a member, you get first dibs of my time and my attention. It's kind of what I was saying earlier, is that the members and the Patreon subs, the Patreon producers, if you prefer to subs, they get first dibs on my time and my attention. And so today my time and my attention were spent making sure that the members were satisfied. They were fed another video. That's Final Fantasy V with Raichi. And the members themselves are going to get an entirely members-only experience for a while. I'm playing a game, Kingdoms of Amalur, and my plan, as of right now, is to play it and edit it and to make the uncut, largely audio experience available to the members. It'll have video, but it'll be uncut, and the material will be largely audio as far as what you're getting that's unique to the unique from the passerby. And then I plan to go back and edit those down into a much shorter video for the random passerby, and those will have visual gags that aren't in the extended version, so I'm not doing multiple edits, and I can count on having a multi-day workflow. You don't have to give a shit about my workflow, but if you're paying attention to me, you can learn a lot about managing your own workflow by listening to how I do mine, because I pay attention to it in a way that a lot of YouTubers and independent, let's say, creatives don't until they're swamped or overwhelmed by their inability to keep up with the commitments they've made to their workflow, and so their work comes to a halt because they've demanded, or they put more of a demand on their system than their reservoir can manage. And so I'm sensitive to the demands on my system, not only because I have pathological demand avoidance, but because demands on the system lead to burnout if there are too many, more than you can manage. Hello, C. Brian. I don't live on the street. Jeez. Hello, Laura. Did they invest in foolery? I don't know what you mean. I don't know a lot about Japan. I had a fine day, Laura. It was a productive day for me, so it was a nice day. Long day. I'm not sure it should be my foolery, though. I decided to do something a little different for me today. I haven't had chips and dip in a very long time. So, hey 70s chick, what's up? Beady dum 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 diddy dum ding dum diddy dum ding dum diddy dum da da dum diddy dum ding dum. I don't know whether they were more genteel or not. Um, the culture was different. So I don't know. I know that I know samurai carried swords in public, but I don't know. Tonight, dinner was hours ago. Same thing as every night, 70s chick. Making myself available to the internet. Trying to make a couple of bucks. And tonight I have a bag of chips. Hey, Chris, good to see you. I think I got your name right this time in the description. Mm-hmm. Same as every night. That 60s chick. Except I usually don't have a snack. I put a PH in one of them. We have OS. What's OS? Operating system. It's great to see you, Chris. I hope you're doing well, buddy. That's fun, 70s chick. I don't know, Laura. I didn't see it. I've been in here. It's too damn cold. It's clear, probably. Heard that, Chris. I believe in you, buddy. That's funny, T-Rex. No thank you, buddy. Overstock. That's what OS stands for. I believe in you, Chris. I was a big fan of Johnny Walker Black when I used to drink. Evan Williams. I like a good Irish. I think that's what Evan Williams is. Okay. I've never had Kentucky whiskey. That's not true. I like Kentucky whiskey. I like bourbon. I don't know who Jaywalk was. Not really T-Rex. I don't know if he was a real person or not. I don't know who you're talking to, Open Roads. Hello, Blank. Cheap bourbon. It can't be as cheap as, I think it's called Ancient Times. No, open. I know that, but you thought wrong. Canadian Mist, yeah. I never much experimented with bourbon outside of Maker's Mark. Sweet, heard that. Seagram's, that's funny. That's well. I know that. Hey, Ergodor. No. No, it's gold. It's been about 5 degrees all day. I don't know what it is now, but it's cold. I'll tell you right now. I've been sitting here thinking I need to pull my hood up for a while. I can't feel my ears. Yeah, it's cold. Good brandy. I've never had brandy before. You like gin? Typically it's spelled with a G and an I. Patron, tequila. I haven't drunk in a real way in a very long time. I don't really like gin either. Tastes like window cleaner. I like a beer. I like a nice dark beer. I've been drinking Yingling because that's the only dark beer you can get in this town. No, I don't like IPAs. But when I used to drink on the regular, just a double of Scotch neat was my move. And I like Johnny Walker. I think it's Glenfiddich that I don't like. I think I like Glenlivet. The Glens were a little expensive where I was at that time in my life. My 20s. That's funny. 70s chick. Yeah, I wasn't trying to have to pee a bunch. I was just trying to get drunk. So cocktails are fine, but I was trying to find an alcohol I could just drink. I heard Dad Urger going, I bet you did. Fireball will do that to you. Boxer OG. I watched a lot of George Foreman growing up. I bet so, Blank. Hey, Amber. Ambur. Did you know that some of those at-work forces are the same who burn crosses? It's just what I heard. My understanding, Amber, is that you will do what you were told. That's what I hear. And now you do what they told you. Those who died are justified by wearing your badge and they're chosen white or something like that. I don't know. Just some rich chips and cheese dip. Less cheese dip now that I'm down to the crumbs. Wow. Thank you, Jeff. I really appreciate that. It's nice to be able to hear the bass in the mix of a rock song. Especially since Tom Morello is determined not to play guitar. How you doing, Jack? I appreciate that, buddy. Any progress? I haven't read it in a couple of days, no. I end up thinking about other things. I find it difficult to focus on football days. So Thursday, Sunday, Monday. They did indeed, Marky. That was very cool of him, I agree. He won't do what you tell him. You gave a song recommendations, the hand? I don't know what that says. Thinda? Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. Motherfucker! Oh, he says. Biggity diggity 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 boom 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 boom. What do you want me to take a hit of? I don't know what that is. Fender. I can't tell if that's a B at the end or an 8. I don't know who you're talking to, Benny. Okay, Fender. I don't know why you're telling me. Well, if I'm hiding, why do I want to tell you where I am? Oh. Hey, Chris, what's up? Well, shoulda and coulda and woulda never did anything. Fender. I have no reason to do that, so I'm not going to do that. I have no reason to do that. I don't know you, and I didn't ask you for a song recommendation. You aren't a source of, well, you're not a quality source of information that's relevant to me. I don't know you. And anyway, listening to a song recommendation is about getting to know the person making the song recommendation, not the song. Well, Thenda, I've made $20 streaming right now. I have plenty of reason to be streaming right now. There's money to be made, and I'm not making it talking to you. Oh, Poppy. Well, Thenda, you're welcome to move along. No, but I'll take your $10. I was tested as a in kindergarten, Vegas. I'm sure I have like an 85 or an 80 in IQ, if 100 is average. Fairy tales are so cruel because life is cruel. Those things happen to people. I'm glad you know something about me I don't, Real. Did he? As far as I know, Chris. No, thank you, Vegas. We're not speed dating. I don't know what kind of question that is, Delirious. Are you my therapist? Hello again, Daniel. Well, what are you doing wrong and why are you telling me, Vegas? I wouldn't say that I'm cold, no, but I would say that it is cold. What do you think telling me gets you, Vegas? Ooh,
forget, to close the door. Do I have to want to talk about the things you're talking about? And do I have to want to talk to you specifically? Huh. Heard that, 70s. Why are you telling me, Vegas? Why do you want to know what's on anyone's mind, Frank? That's correct, Tyrannus. It was work that needed doing, so the government subsidized it. Because they don't want to arrive at the answer on their own, Rogregor? Frank doesn't want to talk to me. He wants to talk to you guys because he thinks he's on this side of the camera. Thank you, sir. I don't know what human geography could possibly mean. If you say so, Vegas. Hey, Chaz. I suspect that if human geography were simply anatomy, they would just call it anagamy. I suspect it's got some quasi-academic spiritual meaning. I don't know. That doesn't sound like a real thing. But I do know that I watched a documentary yesterday about these sites, 6,600 of them, in Saudi Arabia and around the Caspian Sea. And for hundreds of years, we've been looking at them and going, what could these possibly be? And as soon as I saw them, I was like, oh, yeah, those were hunting enclosures. What they did is they funneled whatever animal they were hunting down into the enclosures, and as they tried to jump out the walls, they fell into those pits that they dug there. And yeah, it took science 200 years to arrive at that. So human geography sounds stupid to me, but it's probably profound to someone. Feng Shui. I don't know how that's pronounced either, but I think it's pronounced with a. I think it's spelled with a U. No, that sounds like nonsense. It sounds like something somebody made up to sell a book, or they were kicked out of chiropractic and wanted to draw an income. Yeah, well, yeah, feng shui is it's a Chinese system of dealing with the qi in an environment, specifically a room. But feng shui is it's just a system. It's just a pretty sophisticated system for managing human psychology in rooms. It's pretty simple. It's sophisticated, but it's very simple. The younger Dryas impact, there seemed to have been a comet that blew up Tunguska sky style sometime in the northern hemisphere. Whether it was the reason for the younger Dryas freezing and recooling, there doesn't seem to be any good consensus evidence for it, but we're 100 years away from data that'll tell us the answer. But there probably wasn't an impact. There was probably an explosion in the lower atmosphere, like Tunguska. So there's probably not a singular impact point. There are probably several lesser impact points as it shotgun blasts down over the northern hemisphere. Maybe that 70s chick. I don't remember Beetlejuice that much, and I don't think it was addressed. It was probably referenced, or The concept, I guess you could say, it was addressed. It was probably just a reference, though. This Beetlejuice isn't really a comprehensive worldview. It's just a movie. Yeah, I think Frank thinks that he's on that this side of the camera. I don't think Frank knows that he's not the host of a show. I'll make sure that never happens again. Yeah, it's just a reference. Illusion. Maybe it was an allusion. I'm not trying to say it was mere. No, I haven't watched Jason and the Argonauts movie. No, but I have heard the story. I've listened to academics talk about it. I was listening to somebody explain that the I was listening to a book that was explaining that the Argonauts, the Jason and the Argonauts story would be a pretty it would be a pretty accurate outline for the way that colonization and trade worked in the Neolithic. Mm. Maybe Ergogor. Probably not the one you do, Light, for sure. T Rex. I haven't seen it, no, but I know the story. I know the source material. Maybe Ergogor. I don't know. I know that we're 100 years away from good data. We only knew it happened. We've only known it happened for like 2 decades. Maybe as many as four. Uh, Ribos. No, I didn't see that. But it wouldn't surprise me if the basic elements necessary for life. It wouldn't surprise me if they were present in the early universe when it was hot. And so it wouldn't surprise me if the basic building blocks of life are older than planets. the the academy, like, the academic consensus right now is that the Younger Dryas is for reasons to do nothing with an extraterrestrial event. So I don't know, but I'm not going to disagree with consensus on something that I don't know. I don't even know the consensus argument on. I don't know how they arrive at their data, so I'm not going to say they're wrong. They're the experts on that one. I know the proponents of the impact theory are alternate historians, and that they're wrong about everything. So they're probably subtly wrong about if there were an impact or there was something like an impact. They're probably subtly wrong about it because they want the Younger Dryas 40,000 years ago to be remembered by Gobekli Tepe 12,000 years ago, and that intervening 28,000 years is a really fucking long time for nothing to have happened. So we've still got about 100 more years of digging out there. I believe that the biblical canon exists. Yes, Nolan. I have one somewhere in this tent. So I believe that the biblical canon exists. Yeah. For sure, T Rex. Those things, they feel auspicious when we just find them. They feel serendipitous or auspicious is the word I meant. And auspice is like, well, auspice was literally the oracle of reading bird signs. So it feels like an oracle. It feels like a direct communication with the divine or the supernatural in some way. So yeah, it would be neat. But we can also put significance on things that have none. So some people will tell you that it's insignificant and not to look and not to pick them up because they're not yours. So do you do you? Glad the old hotel. I don't know what he says there. What do I think is the real history? I didn't know there was a question of how North America was colonized. Discordianism is the only coherent worldview? Maybe, or Gregor. I don't know that worldview by its name. The Earth is an oblate spheroid. Why are you asking me these terrible questions, Nolan? They indicate what you think about. Beach class? Just don't get it in your feet. But yeah, beach class is cool. Touch me again on the words that you will forevermore. Don't tread on me. You spelled it correctly, Nolan. I just don't understand why you're asking me these questions if I knew how to speak on that topic. I don't understand why you're asking me these other questions. Yeah, but why those questions and why of me? If there was already a conversation going and you heard that a conversation was going, why those questions? Again, those questions indicate the things you think about. And my answers haven't indicated that we think the same things about them or that I'm interested in engaging you any more deeply than I already have. So why those questions? Sure, Jay. Well, thank you for letting me know that I don't need to answer any more of them, Nolan. Thank you, T-Rex. Oh, it's cold. Went ahead and pulled my hand warmer down inside my blankets to let them get warm on the inside because it is cold. I am feeling it. Yeah, Google says it's 14 degrees right now, and it feels like it. Whew. Really, I could have my shit closed. Just means that my vapes are gonna freeze. I'm not gonna smoke as well. I'm gonna go through my juice faster. No, no. He's a flat earth creationist and believes that there's a conspiracy theory regarding America's Native American population and how North America was settled. He's either a Mormon or he's a flat earth fundamentalist, and whatever he is, he's not an intellectual. He doesn't even know why he was asking the questions he was asking. He doesn't need to be talking to me. You got it, Jay Farber. Doctrine of that ismos is going to be difficult to maintain. It's the Fight Club of ismoses. I don't know where your brother's from, Nate. You thought wrong, Jay. I am not sleeping at all right now, Nate. Not raised Mormon. Don't know why you're asking me this, Jay. I don't know, T-Rex. You're probably right. You remember wrong, Jay Farber. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that people think that we exist in a consensus reality, T-Rex. They don't fundamentally understand how either democracy or scientific consensus work. Thank you for sharing, Chris. I didn't remember asking, but thank you for sharing, Chris. That reality is determined by consensus. That blue is blue because we agree on it. What do you think I mean, blank? Heard that, blank. Creationism appeals to a consensus reality. It's just a dollar store mix or bag of mixed nuts. Are you making a picture book or something, Cochran? Why are you impressed with how it looks in your book? They're all right. Well, what do you mean by literal? If you mean that if by literal you mean literary, of course there's consensus that it's a work of literary art. Does anyone believe that it's literal history? No. It is T-Rex. Hello, Kelly. What do you mean, blank? I don't know what. I suppose that's one some part, or where some parts of thought is at, though. I don't know what that means. Yeah, a lot of people since Star One, blank, have believed that reality is determined by consensus, that we exist in a consensus reality. This is why we have tribal echo chambers of information. We agree to disagree. We talk about things like teaching the controversy and the benefits of homeschool. It's developed with humanity. Well, we don't exist in reality. We exist in a kind of reality. But individually, we exist in individual realities. So the way we arrived at science and scientific consensus was by being critical of the inherited realities to which we were forced to concede before the Renaissance. Hey, Mustang. How are you? It's very cold. So, what isn't true, for example, of Europe, the early Middle Ages, is that what isn't true is that you could be forced or you would be forced to be Christian. Not really. You wouldn't. Certain people, certain elites may have been compelled, but you wouldn't have been. You would have been compelled to exhibit group cohesion behaviors. And that includes acting as though your reality includes certain doctrinal tenets of Christianity. And so there are a lot of people subsequent to Scope's monkey trial who think, because of Pascal and his wager, that reality and consensual participation in reality is a belief proposition. And so, if you believe in DNA, then you will contribute to the civilization that professes to believe in DNA. But if you choose not to believe in DNA, then you will not participate and engage in a meaningful and forthright and positive-minded way with the civilization that does. They believe that this is a belief prop, and their worldview is medieval, and that the people who have their belief propositions, their faith system, are not expendable, and the people who do not have their faith system or worldview or belief system are at best expendable, at worst exterminable. This is how the southern United States justified slavery for centuries. Interface theory of perception. I don't know the names of these theories, or Gregor. I didn't go to university, man. I don't have any reason to memorize the names of the theories. No, I've never heard of the name of that theory. I find naming theories cumbersome and pretentious. If you have time to name your theory, you have time to make sure it's right. If you have time to name your theory, you have time to falsify it. And the problem with people who name their theories is that they spend more time coming up with a name than they do falsifying their theory. I don't get paid to falsify these people, and it's too easy anyway. And then outgroups in psychology are what I'm talking about. Black, blank, and it's not in psychology. In and out groups are sociology. Psychology is when you're alone. Sociology is when you're in groups. You can't have an in group or an out group in a psychological environment. If that's what you say, Mustang, I'll believe it because you said it. I know, Bank. I make a habit of being that. Psyche is the Greek word for soul. Psychology is the study of the metaphysical or supernatural human being. Sociology is the study of what humans do in groups, how they socialize. And yeah, these regressive intellectual, these regressive ismoses, they use an old worldview. Okay, Gregor, how is that? How do those two things link? Besides that, dragonflies and human beings are both products of life, biology on Earth. I'm not sure what the theory is because I'm not sure what question it's answering. Typically theories answer highly specific questions. I don't know what question we're engaged in. Affixed to what, blank? Cultural tribalism is a regressive. Um, it's a regressive sociological response. So we already have productive structures in place, and these people are rejecting them to behave in an older way of thinking. Yeah, T-Rex. That's called a gish gallop. Yes, and women especially need you to agree with things they think because women think that reality is consensus. And then if you believe this, if you two in isolation believe the same crazy shit, that means that your relationship won't fail. Sure, but the moon, the patterns of the moon are always the same, so they're predictable. Why do I want to build a fire? Sure, she needed triggers to do her thinking for her because she couldn't manage her time herself. She wasn't spooky, she was unintelligent. She was basically an animal. She was just good breeding material. Not even really that, because she couldn't trust her with the offspring. She was a hooah. I don't think women appreciate that. It depends on who you mean by us, blank, but some of us, sure. I don't know how much time you spend studying animals, but they don't have the ability to speak. They don't have the ability to epigenetically cohere cultural memories. So a rabbit can't tell a baby rabbit to stay out of the road, but a human can teach a baby human to stay out of the road. But really, what separates us is our entirely artificial environments at this point. It's not really a point. It's just like observably, if you just observe the difference in humans and animals, Humans are still an animal. We still have to build shelter. We still have to find food. We still need water. We still need quality oxygen. We still need everything that mammals typically need. We need group stimulation. We need a positive, affirming touch. But what humans need that animals don't is two things. We need to have meaningful work because we have such long lives and the ability to think into the future and communicate into the future. And we are more concerned with our dead than other animals. We are more concerned with the quality rest of our dead than a typical animal. And then non-animal species rarely care about their dead at all. A lot of them eat their own dead. But among mammals, I mean, even among birds, we're extremely sensitive about the quality of the rest of our dead. To the point that I really looked. I've spent the last few years looking, but I really spent the other day really looking, like really pushing Gemini to help me find examples and um, uh, non-ritual recycling of the dead is just unheard of. But we recycle other animals, so the quality rest of our dead is important to us. I don't know if it's a question at all, Ergogor. Um, Humans and really all of the primate species evolved by accurately perceiving and interacting with their environments. Well, what do you consider an old cultural tradition, Blank? Why wonder at it and why not solve hypothesize? Just like what do you know about old cultural traditions? What are our cultural traditions and in what order did they build on top of one another? Cultural traditions are just like an archaeological hill. Just strip away the hill in cross section and you've got your answer. What's in the center? And if you know anything about those hills, you know that what's at the center is a burial. Well, sure, but like cultural traditions, how do they begin? Where would they begin? Where were towns founded? Like this, your question has a very, very, very answerable answer. There are a lot of paths that lead right to the answer to your question. Sure, those are superstitions, Tyrannus. Those are sympathetic, magical ways of not being haunted by the restless dead. In Europe, every single town was blank. I've talked about this on the channel. Every single town in Europe was founded around a burial site, and those burial sites pre-exist the foundation of the towns. Not the fear of haunting, the fear of being replaced, Tyrannus. They didn't think they were going to take the things home and they were going to stack chairs in their living rooms. They thought they were going to take their bodies. They thought the ghost was going to take their body and replace them. Unless ghosts don't have souls. Well, I'm not telling you to go back. I'm saying I talk about this all the time, Blank. That's how you feel, school. If that's how you feel, capons. But that doesn't mean they have souls. Hello, Nandan. That's what happened to you if you upset a restless spirit, Tyrannus. It either ate you, killed you, or stole your body. I'm asking you, Capons. You're the one who has answers. More wild? Well, smartphones are only 17 years old, so I suppose probably before. There's a lot more human history before. I said you have answers, Capons. There's a million years of human history before smartphones. About the last 200, maybe 300,000 years of that, the environmental pressures left a creature uh, unchanged genetically. So our brains and our bodies haven't materially changed over the last 200,000 years, which means our environmental pressures have been constant. So the way we think and act today, without education, without training, without discipline, without religion, without whatever thing, without ethics or morality, without those things, that's how we acted 200,000 years ago without those things. Biological through line. These cultural artifacts like tradition are built up to prevent certain things from happening. We're unchanged biologically. Same brain, same body. The only thing that's different is what we talk about and the complexity with which we talk. If that's how you feel, K-Pones. I don't know that you know what morality, divine, or command mean, but I appreciate your maxims. You seem to know a lot. You seem to be a very reliable source of information. I did, K-Pones. That's why I'm saying everything that you're saying, I'm just agreeing with because you seem to be the source of information. If you say so, it must be true because you're the totalitarian authority on all subjects. I'm not the one asking questions, K-Pones. And I couldn't condescend to someone so high and mighty. That's exactly what I'm saying, Blink. Biologically, we're the same creature. Nothing has changed. Brain, body, none of it. The genetics, all of it. Same creature for 200,000 years. But life in an artificial environment is relative. Those those arguments that like humans aren't evolved to live in cities, that's wrong, because no one was snatched out of hunter gatherer society and dropped as an adult in a modern 21st century city environment. That never happened. It just didn't. And the people who grew up in rural environments had the same television and movies conditioning them to be prepared for the fast paced life of the 21st century. So people who can't keep up should have died. They just need to be left by time and ignored. But because of modern humanism, those people will never be left behind and ignored and allowed to starve to death because they can't keep up. Like if you can't, like I listen to the people in Taco Bell all night long bitch about their jobs and then say, but I can't quit because I need this job. And it's like, well, what you need to do is get along at work, do the job well, and stop causing problems for everyone around you so they'll stop complaining to your general manager and she'll stop telling you that she's going to fire you if you don't stop being a problem. That's what you need. But what you can't do is get along in a group environment. So what would have happened, I don't know, 70 years ago, is you would have been allowed to starve. Like, do we think that during the Great Depression, the people who couldn't go along to get along, that they got to eat? No, they starved to death. This is why to be an outlaw in the pre-modern society was death. This is why American blacks rightly feel like they were left to starve and die, because they were. American blacks were just ignored. Like, okay, well, if you can't go along to get along, if you refuse to speak the language properly, if you refuse to engage in education properly, if you refuse to engage in the broader economy now that you're allowed to, if you continue to refuse, we will allow your education to suffer. We will allow you to fall out of the job race, and we will allow you to starve to death in your food deserts, because that's how democracy works. And so if you're dumb enough to insist on freedom and the right to vote, and dumb enough to exist as wards of the state, we will allow you, because you be competitive and our children will get the jobs that you would just be clogging up anyway. And yeah, that happened for 50 years. The period between 1970 and COVID happened. And so if you don't want it to happen to you, I'm not being funny. If you want it to happen to you, you need better sources of information, because the regressive loops that you get yourselves in, and with the questions you ask me, you show me what you know, because you're not good interviewers. So you tell me what you're thinking about, and you tell me what you know about the world, and you all need much better sources of information, because this ain't it. This wasn't it 100 years ago. But you now exist in a fully technological internet world. Like, you need to catch up fast, because your children won't exist. They won't be able to survive in the economy. And if you can't survive in the economy and you have a bunch of kids that can't get jobs, what you are going to have is a bunch of resentful mouths to feed. This is why so many parents hate their children, because they didn't learn to be modern when they were young. They thought that the world was going to remain the same and that the rate of change was going to slow down because they weren't paying attention. And then they didn't modernize, but they had children, and so they got stuck in a job cycle that for 18 or 20 or however many kids they had until those kids were gone. And the way they dealt with it was by literally cutting the kids out, because they didn't have the money or the social skills necessary to raise those children to be productive members of society. And this is why everyone does porn now, because they can't be productive. They can't do anything to contribute. We don't like to hear it, but it's about having kids. We're animals. This whole idea that you're going to have a long and meaningful life without children, just, it ain't it. It just ain't it. You're not going to find satisfaction until you've had them kids, or until you improve the lives of young people. I mean, you don't have to agree, but if you want to agree, you have to have the same knowledge that I do. You have to have the same underlying information. You have to see. I'm not trying to get you to agree. I'm not I'm not a demagogue. I'm not a politician. I'm not up here asking you to vote for me. I'm not in the middle of a popularity contest. I'm not even really on stage. I'm sitting in a tent at night reacting to the things I see around me. And it doesn't matter whether you agree. Reality isn't consensus. Maybe, T-Rex. Corporations are also necessary. The economy is too big and too complex for private business to make it make sense. Private business can't be competitive in this economy. It couldn't be competitive in the pre-corporate economy. But without a centralized federal government, you can't have world trade. If you can't have world trade, if you're not trading internationally, you're dead. That's been true since before the Bronze Age. The Bronze Age and all the things that we think make us not animals were only possible because of international trade. Intercontinental, even. Well, Blank. I'm saying that your worldview is that reality is consensus, and that if you agree, then we occupy the same reality, but we don't. I understand, Ergogor, and I know that. That's what I'm saying. Your questions give you away because you guys aren't interviewers or lawyers. So your questions give you away. That's why when you ask me questions, I immediately flip them around and just get you to talk. Because your questions indicate what you know. Because what you don't go is, I know this. What don't I know about it, or what am I getting wrong about it? You ask me about entire libraries of information. I don't know what integral calculus is, regulator. Well, yeah, Blank. That's because you don't know what you don't know. So it's all learning. It's like having a huge cock, you see. It's like having a huge dick. It all feels good for you, right? The problem is that I got to make sure that it feels good for my partner. And so when you got a big cock, everything feels good for you, but it might hurt for your partner. So I got this massive information cock that I'm swinging around, and I got to make sure that I don't prolapse your worldview. Hey, Jamie. Hey, Charisse. Because if I prolapse your worldview and the sphincter muscles that keep you from killing yourself go away, I've killed you. Heard that, Egregore. I haven't seen, or Egregore. I haven't seen that movie. Well, I don't want to be a murderer, Blank. It's all good for me because I've already gone through the years and years and years of destabilization and ego death that come with knowing this stuff and putting it in order and asking these questions. And not all of the questions that you ask do you actually want the answer to, because the answers, and thank you, Krista, a lot of the answers suck. Is Ophelia is Ophelia a name that was given to you, Krista, or a name that you've chosen? Because most of the answers to the questions that you guys ask me, the answer is racism. It's your grandmother's name? Heard that. Do you know the history of Ophelia? Could you tell me where it comes from? Because I don't know it, but it sounds Greek. So when you're not thinking, are you not Wolfheart? Heard that, Krista. I don't know the Taylor Swift song. It probably comes from Ophelia, which means the love. Ophelia. Bearing the truth of knowing who you are isn't easy. That doesn't answer the question that I asked, Wolf. And you mean the bearing with an E at the beginning. That took you a really long time, Wolfheart. That's a really long time. It took me seconds. Doesn't answer the question of whether you're not when you're not thinking. It doesn't address the inverse of your maxim. So if your maxim is true, is the opposite, the inverse of your maxim also true? And if it's not, then it's not real. Because the way the universe works is that for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. So if thinking makes you be, then not thinking equally and oppositely would make you not be. And you're not listening. You're not even fucking gonna try to answer the question. Not even gonna try. You're just gonna start to blah 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 about some non sequitur bullshit. You're gonna show up with Descartes, and then you're gonna pivot to fundamental Christian bullshit that I just don't have the fucking patience to put up with. It's a simple question. If you think, therefore you am. If you not think, Therefore am you not? It's a very simple question. It's an extremely, extremely simple step toward falsification of your maxim. And if your maxim is that easily falsifiable, your maxim is bullshit. Rene Descartes. Your maxim is bullshit. Heard that, Krista. Thank you. I wish fewer people would come in this chat. Stop masturbating in my chat. I deserve that. Well, it's not about two. It's about falsification, blank. Okay, so something I don't think everybody knows about science is that the reason science works is because science is a process of falsification, not truification. If you have an if-then proposition, and the opposite of the if-then proposition is not true, then the original if-then proposition is false. It's just a... I understand, Krista. Either thing works. And hello, Ray Ray. That's how inductive reasoning works. It's not even how inductive reasoning works. It's just an easy maxim. It's just an easy algorithm for determining truth. And Philalitheia means lover of truth. So if you want to know if something is true, there are easy ways to falsify whether something is true. And if it's false, then it's not true. And all math everything is resolvable to a binary. And if it's not, then you have a remainder. Whatever's left over may or may not tip to one of the two. If you have a remainder that's sufficient enough, what you have is called a three-body problem. You either have a 3, a 5, or a 7. Everything reduces to a prime number. It is very cold, Johnny. But usually things resolve to 2s because of the Fibonacci sequence. 1 1 3 5 or 1 1 2 3 5 8 13, etc. Most things resolve to 2s. Biology resolves to 2s. Well, if you got a remainder, you can ignore the remainder for a while, and you can just look at your whole number, your often odd or often even, your 2 and. If you have an infinitely large pile of stuff to sort, you start with 2 piles, and then as you're going through, you realize that you have a third, like, distinguishable pile. You still begin, once the piles have been sorted, with the 2 piles. You still have to compare 2 things, no matter how many things you have. You still have to begin at comparison of 2 things. So you begin at the 2 original piles, and then if you have, it's logical sense. And so if you end up with seven, because the maximum you can have because of prime numbers, the way numbers resolve, is 7. Because if you have 9 piles, then they probably evenly divide into 3 piles, or they evenly divide into 4 piles, or I'm sorry, they evenly divide into 2 piles, with that remainder of a half a pile. But you still only have a half a pile. So if you end up with 7 even piles, you still have to begin comparing somewhere. So you can just pick any 2 arbitrary piles. So you've still reduced it to a binary. You can reduce everything to 2 things for the purposes of comparison. And if there are things outside them, they probably prove the rule of the comparison between the 2 things. Like, you can compare birds and mammals, and then what you're going to eventually have is dinosaurs. And they prove the rule of the differences between birds and dinosaurs because technically birds are dinosaurs. Yeah, okay, so 7 days in the week is sevens are magical because lists, what human beings learned very early because everything had to be memorized, is that a list including a number greater than seven was a list that was going to be easily forgotten. Our brains can memorize lists up to sevens, up to 7 items in the list easily. After that, it requires mnemonic reinforcement. This is why the eightfold path is what it is. He chose 8 for that reason. But also 7, as far as the days of the week, is Christopher could explain this better. We were talking about this the other day. But base 12 math does a lot of sixes. It does a lot of it does in half a lot. And so in numerology, the numbers of numerology are what they are because of the mnemonic transition into the decimal system, the mnemonic transition to the decimal system. And so sixes in the base 12 system are halfway, and basically at halfway you just do it again. But 7, if you're trying to memorize all 12 numbers, 7 is the first 7 are the ones you're going to easily be able to remember. You understand what I'm saying? And so you're only easily going to be able to remember 7 days of the week. And then the days of the week being at 7 an hour system is from the Hebrews adapting Sumerian mathematics. Thank you, Krista. I don't know if math can warm you up, but math can certainly help you forget that you're cold. Lucky number 7. Yeah. Yeah, and the 7 dinosaurs and 7 tangents thing is probably an artificial constraint because of the magic number 7, because it did any more than 7 and it's hard to remember. Yeah, area code and 7 numbers. 7's also a prime number. It's the largest single digit prime number. So phone numbers being a 7 digit might also have to do with how many times it can be replicated, how many individual phone numbers you can have. My drug of choice is weed. 7 deadly sins because 8 deadly sins, and you wouldn't be able to remember the 8th one as easily. And yeah, the repetition of 7 in the Hebrew canon made its way into Christianity because the Hebrew canon was an oral tradition. So their magic numbers are very often about they're very often a mnemonic in their own, that it's a repeating mnemonic within the Hebrew canon, especially the older stuff, when numbers show up, and those numbers are helping the speaker remember where they are in the text. And so the numbers are going to recur across many texts, and the system is going to be the same because they're all using the same system, because they're all in the same oral tradition. Mm. Thank you, Krista. It's complex. It's hard to explain quickly if you don't know the basics of the oral tradition. Okay, well, what does that mean? They didn't necessarily memorize the story. They memorized they they would oftentimes memorize the story word for word for word for word. But the reason that they could do that is because there were mnemonics peppered through. There were ways to jog your memory. And so it wasn't all just brute repetition memorization, is what I'm trying to say. And so the Bible, the Hebrew canon, before it was canonized into Greek and it was brought into people's homes so they could remember when they were Jewish, it was an oral tradition. The readings were done to connect themselves with the pre-oral tradition, because writing after 3500 BCE came with a very particular kind of authority that God needed to have. I agree, Krista. More people should do that, but it's coming. Thank you, Krista. I'm glad you're able to have such high highs. Well, yeah, the six senses, the six senses thing is also, it's also arbitrary, right? So we actually, I think I heard somebody credibly say that we have as many as 23 confirmed senses scientifically. 1700, Krista. Most people find me grating and difficult to be around. Most people think I'm an asshole. I don't know about should be. I wouldn't be able to give you all the attention that you need if I have to keep scrolling up. Yeah. Yeah, there's at least 8 that I can think of right now. I would have to work at the 7th and 8th one, but right, you've got taste, smell, touch, hearing, sight. What's that? 6? But then like people will say like fear is one of those senses, for example. I can't think of 8 of them right now off the top of my head. I don't remember what they were. They get pretty rhetorical where it's like, okay, Obi-Wan. But yeah, these numbered lists are arbitrary from a time when scientists had to memorize this shit because it wasn't written down and they didn't have easily accessible resource books. So there was a time in education where you had to brute force memorize all this stuff, and numbered lists help immensely. I appreciate that, Christy. I don't think temperamentally I would make a good teacher, but I do make a good speaker, so I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. Teachers get paid a lot better than I think people appreciate. The reason that teachers in K 12 don't get paid is because they don't do anything after first grade. Balance? Well, yeah. Yes. Yeah, your sense of balance is a sense. Yeah, your inner ear is a bodily sense. That's correct. That belongs as that is one of them that is recognized. Um yeah, and then like detecting hot and cold, right? That's not just touch. Um because we can sense hot and cold without we have other things that sense hot and cold um than just like I guess neurologically or whatever. I don't fully understand this stuff. That's why I'm trying to like kind of move away from it. I think that like the skin, what counts as touch to the skin, um, isn't what's sensing hot and cold. We're also sensitive things that we have sensitivities to account as senses. We are sensitive to uh, electromagnetism on some levels. Yeah, I think it's specialized neurons. Yeah, and spatial awareness. Yeah. Well, sponges aren't really barriers, but yeah, Krista, the you were right. You were. I liked your language better with barrier. The skin is the barrier between our biological ecosystem and the world outside, and it is semi-permeable like a sponge. But like when your skin gets waterlogged when you're in water, right, and so it gets all wrinkled, your skin doesn't want to do that. It is a semi-permeable barrier, but the barrier was better language than sponge. The skin is a highly specialized organ that's very fascinating. It's very cool. Yeah, Ray Ray. Yeah, The skin is an organ. Yeah, it's a highly specialized organ, and yeah, it's our largest organ. I love that. It's such a fun. That's such a fun little trivia, trick question. It does it it does it to adapt, but it doesn't want to do that. Um, it's semi-permeable because it can't keep it all out. And it doesn't want to be perfectly dry. It does want some uh moisture exchange with the atmosphere, right? But like if our cells have too much water in them, they'll drown. And so your skin can die if you're in water for too long. Like if you get waterlogged enough, it'll die and rot, like come slough off your right off your body. And the same, like you don't want to drink too much water because you can fill the cells of your body with too much water, they'll drown. So like your skin, for example, doesn't want to let the oxygen, nitrogen, other gases that are in the environment into your skin. That's what your lungs and your blood are for. Homeostasis, yeah, balancing is quite the balancing act indeed. Like, yeah, they swell because the the mechanisms that prevent the skin from absorbing the water um are no longer working when the body is dead, so that water fills the body to capacity, because that's what water does. It fills a container. Yeah, proprioception is the sense of your body in space. Pain, yeah, pain isn't the same as touch, exactly. Yeah, thank you for that, Trent. Yeah. Like I said, some of them are like when you read them for the first time, and you think about the thought that went into arriving at them, they have a very Obi-Wan Kenobi, okay, from a certain point of view, that's different from this other sense or whatever. But like taste and smell are so interlinked, they're the same sense on to some people. Yeah, interoception, the sense of what you feel like on the inside of your body. What do I think about black holes? As in like do I think wacky shit like if you go in it you'll come out the other side or whatever? No, I don't think wacky shit. Um but as far as like what do I think from the frontier of science? I don't remember. I was I was arguing with Gemini about something about black holes the other day. I think that actually made it up onto the Patreon, but I don't remember. I'm not an astrophysicist by inclination. Between you and me. But I mean, black holes are they're not holes. They're objects in the universe and time space that are spinning so fast, so small, and so dense that even light can't escape the well of their gravity. I just like to talk, Krista. If I wanted to talk about something specific, I would have just done a talk and turned this off when I was done addressing whatever was on my mind. And I do that from time to time. Yeah, right. No, I think that's called a supernova. Nice guy. Um, a black hole is more like when a star implodes, when it collapses in on itself. But I don't know if it's stars. It might be stars, but it might also be supernovae that collapse in on themselves. I don't know. It's a highly energetic. Uh, not can be released, is released. Okay, so it makes sense if you think about what's happening. So because of the spinning, the stuff that's drawn in, including the light that's drawn into the black hole, and what you got to think about is you got to think about a very, very, very small spinning thing that's pulling larger objects into them, because it strips them down to their individual atoms. It's so strong that their atoms discorporate from one another, and those are what go in and eventually collide with that thing that's very small. But because it's spinning so fast, it's so small and it's so dense, and those things are coming at it so hard, they are reduced to their energy, and that spat out the cone. That spat out in a cone at the poles of the spinning object. And it's not just that radiation can be released, it's that deadly gamma radiation, I think it's gamma, is released. Well, the things that I know best aren't really interesting to other people, Krista. Yeah, I was actually talking about that the other night, Ray, and I was talking about that today a little bit. And my fiance is hunting Bigfoot in Ohio and Fallout 76, so I was kind of talking with her about it this morning, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if Bigfoot can do those things, because I'm not 100% sure that Bigfoot is a material phenomenon in the way that we would understand, like a monkey or a gorilla. Because from the best that I can tell and the best that I was able to research while having a conversation with Gemini about it, Bigfoot sightings don't exist before the interstate highway system. Yeah, Beetlejuice may have already exploded. Yeah, Ergogor, under their own pressures. Uh, sort of Tyrannosaurus, sort of. The grass, whatever it's called. Maybe Ray. I kind of just said that it wouldn't surprise me at all if there's no actual physical Bigfoot. Yeah, and like Bigfoot signs are just silly. Yeah, maybe Ray. There's a contingent of cryptozoologists, as they call themselves, who propose those kinds of theories. Yeah, I've never experienced a cryptid, Krista, so I have no reason to incorporate the possibility of cryptids into my worldview as anything other than fantasy and thought experiment, or I'm just spooking myself out while I walk around in the woods. But yeah, again, sightings and don't necessarily mean credible evidence. And you could be from anywhere and say that there are sightings anywhere. Patterson Gimlin with an M, like a gimlet drink. Patterson Gimlin, and yeah, I was watching that film. I sent it to my girlfriend earlier today. Um, there's no way of knowing. Um, what's his name? Patterson insists it's real to this day. Mermaids are not what you want them to be, Krista. The mermaids that you want to be real were never part of the folklore before Disney got involved. Mermaids were the restless souls of women who died at shipwreck or were sacrificed at sea. They're called maids because they died virgins. They were sex-thirsty monsters, sex-starved monsters who would drain you of your life force while fucking you to death. You don't want to be a mermaid, and you don't want them to be real. Because you don't want the guilt of knowing that she died in anguish without ever having or knowing the love of a man or child. That's a horrible way to go if you really think about it. Oh, it's not a theory. That's what they were. That's how mermaids were made. And it's right there in the Odyssey when Odysseus engages a mermaid and she saves his life. There was a show. It was a hoax, but there was a show on Discovery. The interstate thing, yeah, like 1968 or egregore. The Bigfoot stuff is all datable to the late 60s. It all began in the 60s, and it all began in the Pacific Northwest. It didn't begin in Ohio. Well, nuns would believe in mermaids because what are nuns? What do nuns and mermaids, as I just described mermaids, have in common? She does. Her channel is FIFA_143. She does Fallout 76 stuff, and we have a series here on my channel called the Believers Grind that we do together, me and Rach. Episode 5 went up for members today. Episode 5 will be up on the regular viewers of the channel on Saturday. No, you can't find her stuff through my channel. You might be able to find her commenting. She comments on all my shit. FIFA_143. FIFA like FIFA, the league. I think she originally made that channel to play that game. I don't remember. And 143 is her magic number for anybody who cares. But anyway, sevens. We were talking about sevens. The reason in numerology they are what they are, they're the first rolling over of the clock, is because of the base 12 system. 7 would be the first rolling over after 6 halfway. And then so that's why in the decimal system math, 8 and 9 are leading toward perfection, right? Because and that's why we start counting base number plus 10 at 13 and not 12. That's why there's a name for 11 and a name for 12 and so many languages, is because the base math system used to incorporate 12 individual numbers. So we use 10 numbers and then they repeat. They used to use 12 before they repeated. So that's why it goes 1 through 10, 11, 12, 3, 10, 4, 10, 5, 10, 6, 10, 7, 10, 8, 10, 9, 10, 20, 21, 22. That teen is just 10. That's how you would pronounce 10 in Old English, because that it would have been the way we say 10 would have been pronounced tane. That E would have been pronounced differently. So 2 E's is tay in 10. All this stuff has answers, and it's all old. It's all because of the way people thought and spoke and lived before language was as complex as ours. And so you can really look at Europe. You can look at Europe, and if you know any immigrants to the United States, if you know any immigrants from anywhere, you can really just observe them for what life was like 100 years ago, before the complexity of telephones and radio. Because even though Europeans have access to TV and radio, what they didn't have before the internet was the encouragement to interpret reality for themselves, because they weren't taught that reality was a consensus reality. Bow dow down. Bow dow down. That's why there are so many newly emergent Indian and South American and European flat earthers. It was never a consideration to them because they didn't know that they got a choice in deciding which reality they live in. And so that, I mean, that's straight up what agree to disagree means. When you say it or someone says it to you, it just straight up means that that what they're going to do is live in a world entirely separate from yours, a reality completely separate from yours. And then what they're doing is they're taking the opportunity to give you permission that, okay, so we can agree to exist in separate realities then. And that's fucked up. That's a deeply fucked up thing to think and do, because one of us is right. It's like I was watching the Neeps Gaming the other day, and two of the guys were arguing about something, and one of them was saying something that was just obviously and objectively wrong. And one of the guys pushes back and goes, but it's this other thing. And he goes, I've heard it both ways. And the guy fires back with, yeah, but one of them's wrong. And so, like, on some level, if I've been advocating all night for a scientific, if not the scientific worldview, there is an objective reality out there. There has been an objective reality since before humans evolved socioculturally to be aware of it. Philosophy was one of the first attempts to become aware of it on an individual level, because religion, specifically mystical, how did I describe this earlier today? Um, Monastic mysticism um, can also be called shamanism if you're reductive enough in your terms of what constitutes monasticism and mysticism. And so at one point in time, uh, information transmission was the Sith rule of two, right? It was the monastic mystic and his student or her student or their child, right? It was them and one person. And then at some point, somewhere, maybe everywhere at different points in time, but convergent evolution happened, and at some point one of them died early without a functional student. And so a group of people surviving in a hostile human environment, I don't know when, recent, within the last 10,000 years, had to figure it out for themselves. And the way they figured it out for themselves was to replace the shaman, the monastic mystic who lives outside the community and has answers that nobody can understand because of drugs. Thank you, Jack. Um, and deep thought, like what I'm doing here with you guys. Existing in conditions really not at all different from the one I exist in. Can't cohabit in society, but can communicate with people effectively. So lives in a tent out in the wilderness, surrounded by animals and the silence necessary to be bored enough to come to the kinds of conclusions that you come to out here like this. And then one of them died. And so civilization had to figure out the things that they could remember. They had to piece together all the things they could remember that they'd individually learned from the mystic. And they decided that, okay, so letting the mystic live outside civilization doesn't work, because if they die and they didn't have a student, then we're fucked. And so if you've ever read The Giver, this is what The Giver is. Like, that's what she's talking about in that book. And so what happened is sometime around 5000 BCE, so sometime between 10 and 7,000 years ago, we got the idea of the sacred king. And the way the sacred king worked was he had all the power and all the training of a shaman, like Alexander had. He had all the training from Socrates. Alexander was he was Macedonian. The Macedonians lived closer to the shaman and the ritual sacred king than Athenian Greece did, because Athenian Greece had existed for, by Alexander, I'm pretty sure it was a few centuries since their last sacred king, and their last functional king wasn't a ritual sacred king anyway. They don't even have good mythology with sacred kings. So Greece, because of the Greek language, the Greek mainland, because of the way it evolved out of Macedonia, not Macedonia, I'm sorry, Mycenae, and I haven't thought about this in a really long time. Give me a second. We call them the Minoans because we don't know what they called themselves. Uh, from the Minos legend. So the Minotaur, the Minoan, and Mycenaean civilizations were they were so thoroughly not sacred king civilizations that their um, vassalage and colonization of mainland Greece affected the languages that would become modern Greek, and so the languages that would have been around in the 500s BC when the Iron Age was really kicking the fuck off in Greece. And so the Periclean Athens is like 450, Socrates is like 450, something like that. Um, and so Socrates, I'm trying to get you guys to philosophy in time. Socrates is trying to articulate that the sacred king worked not because the king was actually sacred, but because of what the king knew. But more specifically, what the queen knew, because the queen wasn't interchangeable in the way that the sacred king was. So the sacred king, um, you know the myths. I know you guys know the myths. The way it worked was the sacred king was responsible for fighting against, literally fighting with weapons. Because of the Bronze Age, you're starting to get swords, right? You got better than stone weapons, so you can do more than just break a guy's legs, send him into a trance, and hope that he solves the problem in dreams. You can give a guy a sword and you can walk him out into the desert and leave him there and hope he doesn't die. These kinds of things. So the sacred king, the ritual king, he was supposed to fight dragons, right? Of the mind, right? So he was trained spiritually to do these things, but he was also trained as a war king because human life became very violent and very chaotic after uh, after about 12,000 BCE. Um, After the ice age in the northern hemisphere opened up and populations exploded. And when that happened, the landmass stopped being able to easily provide food just off the ground for all of the human beings that lived on it. And when that happened, they had to kill one another. There was no other answer. And the reason that is the case is because they were animals, and this is exactly what chimpanzees, our closest non human relative, do. When there are too many of them in the landmass for the trees, and just the ground without agriculture, um, if there's less than what naturally feeds the chimps, they kill one another over territory. Uh, that sounds like something that somebody in the 19th or 20th century thought might be true, Ergogor, but I don't think that's actually true. Um, because what constitutes a world religion is an Abrahamic faith. The other religions aren't world religions, and their faith systems corresponding to the adoption of coinage only makes sense. A faith system is necessary to keep the people in charge of the money from stealing it. So if people are noticing a causal corollary link between coinage and um, codified faith, it's just that the only thing that had the authority to stop somebody from stealing that easily stolen money was the gods. But that's a causal corollary link that really wouldn't stand up in modern academe. I'm glad to learn that about you, Justin. Thank you for sharing, and hello, Len. I'm fine, Len. It's weird that you wanted to interrupt me with that question. I don't know if we've met, but it's sure been making your acquaintance, Justin. But anyway, they would sacrifice the sacred king. Did I get to that? They would sacrifice him. Human sacrifice was a thing, and the king was the human sacrifice of last resort. This is what civil revolution is in late Middle Ages. In the late Middle Ages, this is why we have presidents, and they're only in for 4 years. Sacred king shit. So we don't kill them. Did you, Johnny? I'm glad you enjoy it. That's not a movie I could see myself watching on purpose. I'm going to be honest with you. Maybe, Justin. It depends on what you consider method and acting. Shit, it's almost 4 o'clock. No wonder I'm so fucking cold. You're my mask. You're my cover, my shelter. Hello, White. Hello, Whitey. I don't know what releasing means. Hello, Jules. I appreciate that, Whitey. No, I'm not a famous actor. But I did say the other day that I was surprised that nobody had made this joke, and now that you've made it, you can goodbye, Justin. I don't need you in my life anymore. Thank you for letting me know, Len. Typically, in terrestrial radio, we would listen to the show before we call in. Philalitheia means lover of truth, Jules. Typically, we would watch the show before we subscribe. Like, would you subscribe to Cosmo without having read it? Whatever. Thank you, Len. That's what you want to do. I'm sure I could. It's illegal and I don't want to. I don't know how you think a little fire would benefit me in this tiny tent. I'd have to have it in my lap to get any heat from it, and that would definitely set me, my lap, this tent, and my sleeping bag on fire. Yes, Trent, I'm religious. And I think you're pledging more than your wallet is going to actually pay out, pal. I am certain that you're not going to make sure directly that I get to eat tomorrow, Len. So you're promising more than you want to. No, Ergregor, they didn't rise in defiance of Empire because Empire didn't happen. Empire didn't happen in the way that he wants to describe until Rome, and the only world religion that happened as a result of Rome was Christianity, and that didn't happen for 300 years, and Rome already had coinage by then. So he has to be wrong because Christianity didn't spring up within a century of Roman coinage. I believe in many gods, John. I don't know what that means, Len. I wonder why people are calling you weird, Len. Alethea is a goddess, Johnny. I am not Christian, Len. Someone asked if I was religious. I didn't say that I was a Christian. Someone asked me what Philalitheia means, and I said lover of truth, and then I just said that Alethea is a goddess. I'm not from the Philippines. God damn it. I say it a lot. Did you know that during the 100 Years' War, the French called the English le goddamn because they say goddamn so often? I just think he might be wrong, Ergregor. Like, I understand and I appreciate that you've taken the time to learn his ideas, but I think he's just wrong. Um, I'm trying to think about what I know about coinage because people have said some really silly shit about coinage. Because we didn't have good anthropology about this until the last 17 years. And so people were allowed to say a lot of crazy shit about this. Um, and there was no falsifying information coming out of the dirt. Philalitheia is Greek. That feels obvious to me because we all know that philosophy is Greek. We all know that um, phil, philos, is the Greek word for friend or lover. Uh, well, anthropology is the study of humans. So the topic of anthropology is the anthropos, man. I would prefer you didn't, Lynn. Well, I'll say the same thing to you, Bridge, that I said to Lynn. In terrestrial radio, we would listen to the show before calling in. Not becoming, Bridge. You've watched BS for so long that you are it. My father used to say, as regards my brain, shit in, shit out. We were talking about coinage, Mateo. So, like, it seems that his core idea is that religions, like, religious people sprung up reminding these imperial or large scale governments to be moral, and that's what I was telling you. He's got the pyramid wrong. He wants coinage to be important, and it's not. The king had to be sacred. The person who was the autocrat within the social structure had to be sacred. They had to be touched by and chosen by God. They had to personally be a god. They had to be exceptional because no one else was, and existent, and every threat in the ancient world was existential. And so I'm pretty sure that coinage was developed by a civilization that didn't even have an autocrat. No, I'm not a brother in Christ. I don't know where you got that idea, Bridge. No, I shouldn't be. Christians are fake and can't even follow their basic doctrinal tenets. That's funny, T Rex. I bet they enjoyed that very much. I'm sure terrestrial radio is no, we really couldn't. We very likely will be, Lynn. You're gonna get yourself muted if you don't shut up. Not by me, Sebastian. Do you know what the word fear means, though? I know you're not using it to mean what it means, but if you know what it means, maybe we can have that conversation. What do I think about euro? I don't think about. Uh, or I'm sure you're asking me about the currency. I don't think about the currency because I don't do business in it. It's not legal tender that I engage in. Well, this is why, Lynn. Stop. I'd prefer you didn't, Paul. I'm sure, Tyrannus, I'm not being funny. I might sound snarky or dismissive, but I'm actually not being either of those things. I'm sure that terrestrial radio was appreciative of the call. I'm sure they enjoyed that very much. I'm sure they enjoyed your company as much as I do. I'm not being glib. Hello, hello. Well, Lynn, they often say, as my girlfriend says, the they sayers they often say that you have to like yourself first before anybody else will. So if you can't enjoy your own company, if you're alone when you're by yourself, then you're doing it wrong. I just talked about my girlfriend, Lynn. If that's how you feel, Bridge, why are you still here? And why are you behaving like an asshole? Did Jesus say to troll strangers, or did he say to share the gospel? We're not friends, Bridge. We're not going to be. I'm sure they did, T-Rex. I'm not being glib. I'm sure they did. I'm sure they found it very charming and engaging. At some point, Len, if we're going to be friends, you have to behave like a friend toward me. And that means listening when I speak. Well, Bridge, you're the one who apologized for trolling. You could see Judas live streaming a lot. Why? Do we have a lot of writings from Judas, Paul? Do we have like a Gospel of Judas? Well, yeah, you're the one who apologized for trolling, Bridge. I don't think Jesus said anything about introducing yourself to somebody by being an asshole. I'm pretty sure he said do the opposite of that. So, no, I don't like Christians. I actively dislike Christians. Cereal is a gazpacho. Yeah, sure, Buckin. I don't. I don't go to either of those places unless I'm getting sex, Carventure. Well, okay. Well, the church didn't exist in the ancient world. The church existed in the late classical world. So I understand that it's your words and not his, but that's not how debts were actually managed. Debts were managed in the deeply ancient world that like coinage when coinage is invented. Debts were managed by temples, sure, but those temples functioned in fundamentally different ways than the church. And again, they did it because the only person who had the authority to stop people from stealing that easily stealable money was God, the gods, ghosts, and other supernatural entities. You should listen to Irving Finkel talk about this subject, Ergregor. You should listen to a Sumeriologist talk about the way Sumer handled their money. No, I've never heard of that, Trent. even even the values of the coinage were the responsibility of the autocrat. So even the emperor was the person who was responsible for making sure when the church was around, the church didn't actually handle the money. That's why Jews did it. Was because they could be trusted. Christians couldn't be trusted. Whatever you think the Anunnaki are, Bucky, you're wrong. That's what my thoughts are on the Anunnaki. Again, you should listen to a Sumeriologist talk on this subject. Irving Finkel is my favorite Sumeriologist. What does it look like I'm doing, Len? It appears to be dark here as well. I don't know about a world record, Tyrannus, but that's funny. Probably I'm not going to stay alive or stay awake for much more than another hour or so. Okay, Bucking. No, I don't have parents, Len. You don't need the A there, just parents. Because I don't. Maybe, Len. Or maybe it's powerful. Maybe it's empowering. No, they're the same entity, Bucking. I like Marduk better anyway. Well, Len, there are 15 of you in this chat. I didn't think I was in this alone. Not everybody, Len. Most people do the opposite of that. Whatever you think the opposite of love is. Most people do that. The vast majority of them. Well, Len, I can only extrapolate that the way you're behaving toward me is the way you behave toward other people. I don't know about Supreme Bucking. Anyway, because I'm not a Sumerian and it's not the 3500s BCE and none of us is in Mesopotamia, I don't have to pick a team between Enki and Enlil. You want to behaved? Sweetheart, I'm sure there's a man out there who would be just absolutely astounded to, not astounded, ecstatic to teach you how to behave. All right, so what? Enki is the wilderness, and then Lil is the waters. I just don't have a Enlil, I guess. No, Len, I'm not angry. I'm just not interested in sexually socializing you. I mean, I'm sure that none of them is a a chivalrous Bradley Cooper bucking. Yes, blame it. Yes, maybe bucking. I don't think it was Zayasudra. I think it was Utnapishtim, but maybe because it's night. Blame it. The flood was because we were too noisy. Take it easy, Layman. I don't think any of them would kill on a morning talk show. Hey, Matthew. that the way you're speaking to me, Lynn, is how you should be speaking to a boy who's in love with you. Yes, that is something you should be reminded of constantly. No, I don't believe in Atlantis, Bucking. There's no reason to believe in Atlantis. Uh, Probably not, Kyle. Probably there was no singular flood. Ancient Sumer, modern Mesopotamia, was a man made floodplain. Probably it flooded. Uh, yeah, Bucking, Plato is a liar. Everything Plato wrote was Platonic irony. Platonic irony is lying for the purpose of saying something else. I mean, his his writing style has a name, Platonic irony. It's a specific kind of irony because he did it so often. Yes, Plato is a liar. Ah, you were gonna say something so cosmically stupid at some point, Bucking. But yes, I'm a fraud. What am I claiming to be, though, SJ? Yeah, sort of, Ergregor. I used the term and then I said something like that is effectively a joke. Okay. Right, Bucking. So long as you can cherry pick your reasons. I identify as a monastic mystic, and that's effectively a shaman by the definition I established earlier. I don't have any hobbies, Josie. So I don't know how to pick a favorite. Like, my favorite of other people's hobbies. I don't understand the just trying to make. Yeah, basically. I don't think I would. I think I would say it the way I did, Ergregor. Just a, just a monastic. Oh yeah, Tyrannus. That's funny. And a mystic. I don't really truck in the occult, and I'm not really a scientist or a philosopher. Why? You overslept, Rachie. What were you thinking? Good morning. No, I haven't finished it yet, Dan. I haven't been back to it. It's too cold. Hey, Rachie. Not 5 more minutes. You're already late. Hey, Dad. Glad you did. She'll get it. There, she got it. I know that, man. Poor thing. She was up late pretending to be asleep, but really she was flipping through her. She was flipping through her babysitter club magazines or books under the covers with her flashlight. You're not off to a good start, Yeef. You're doing crochet? Yeah, 'cause you're fucking old. Cross stitch. It's a strange proof. Crabs. Oh, wait, no. IK. Hello, crabs. Starting to get seepy. That's funny, Rachie. I use cross stitch patterns for my macrame. I wouldn't say it was particularly long. I would say it felt like it was maybe 12 weeks long. Um, What made you think there was a skateboard near me to pick up? What made you think there were other people around me who skateboarded? And what makes you think that I didn't pick up skateboarding? Oh, that's a bummer. Not having an air conditioner. I mostly sat on the patio at Panera all summer, soaking in the sun while I had it because I wasn't gonna get it for very long. I don't know whether you're right that you can usually tell whether people can skate or not. You have a good night too, Blank. Just I have no data confirming whether you're right or not, Eve. You didn't answer any of my questions. So I don't know why I owe you answers to yours. That's really funny, Rachie, because I sent somebody looking for your channel today under the handle of FIFA. But yeah, she asked me if I have links to your work anywhere on my channel. No, I don't. Maybe I should. But your work isn't actually affiliated with what I do on the channel. Typical Rach 143, like a real damn slut. Using the nickname you were given by your overbearing and bossy boyfriend. No, yeah, outside of the stuff we do with the Final Fantasy, with the Believers stream, you were dubbed. Did you watch that, by the way? Did you approve of the sound, the editing that I did to make that not sound like shit this time? You said that you were too loud last time, so I was mindful of that. I'm glad you enjoyed it. You're just talking about you a lot, Eve. Yeah, but you're talking about you a lot. Inferno packets? I don't usually use sauces, but yeah, I like the Inferno. I prefer the Diablo or whatever. The hot, maybe. I wouldn't say that was the only purpose of ancient Magi, but that is one of the things they did. That's only some of what they did, though. They did a lot of things. They carved a lot of spells into stone. You like the fire? I don't use a lot of sauces, like sauce packets. It's a level of effort that I'm not willing to put into eating. If I have to open the sauce packet, the taco doesn't need it. I do like the dip though. Yeah, I don't like to have to open a packet and pour it out, but if it's I like the dip. Yeah, I dipped chips and cheese for my snack tonight, Rachie. You're talking about you now, Yeef. I've already told you that you didn't answer my follow-up question so I can engage in the thing that you wanted to engage about. You just started talking about you. And now I'm telling you that I'm just not going to answer your follow-up questions because you didn't answer my follow-up questions, and you're still talking about you. Like, the only person who's as interested in you as you are is you. So, like, the only person you're going to share that interest with is you. Or whatever bitch simps for you. I don't know who Bill Evans is. Yeah, basically, Matthew. I'm listening to Rage Against the Machine. The cheese cup? Yeah, I never actually used the cheese cup. Um, I missed something that you said, Ergagor. Uh, maybe. Like, um, Hammurabi's code comes from taking all of the different laws and regulations and instability that surrounded his country and codifying it into one law with one central authority. Now you're talking about me instead of to me. That's fun, Matthew. The cheesecake from Taco Bell? What the I couldn't, Rachie. There's no way. I have no idea. T-Rex. The caramel apple empanada is really good, and they never keep it on the menu at my Taco Bell because the general manager at the Taco Bell that I frequent is a lazy bitch who can't do the basics of the job. So she just takes non-essential items off the menu. So they don't have their slushes on the menu either. Yeah, it's not the greatest service environment. It's certainly isn't the best. It's not great. Yeah, I like Baja Blast too. All right, boys and girls, I'm starting to lose to the cold. Yeah, T-Rex. Oh, and your with your belly, you got to eat a lot of Taco Bell to upset your belly. Heard that, typical. Heard that, Rachy. It's cold, Matthew. It was about 15 degrees last time I looked at Google. Oh. And I'm gonna have to end this soon because I gotta pee soon. It's been great talking with you guys, though. I smoke. Yeah, I smoke. I don't know. I'm not testing. That's what I'm saying. I don't know what you think I'm doing, but I'm not testing reality. Yeah, I get a penny per gym that I make. I think he's talking about that I smoke weed. I achieved I achieved nirvana in high school. So I'm not seeking. I came out here to die. That's why I call it monasticism. I'm not out here seeking communion with God. I'm not on a spirit journey. I'm not on a vision quest. I'm not testing whether reality is real. I came out here to die, to freeze to death and be forgotten, and that just isn't what happened. You listened to Nirvana in high school? Yeah, a lot of people listened to Nirvana in the 90s. Never even seen meth. Yeah. Neither would God, Rachie. He intervened a little bit before you did, but that too, sweetheart. I can't be like a Chris McCandless. I don't know what that is. I love that that kid thinks I have to follow my own rules. Kings don't follow their own rules. I haven't seen Into the Wild. I don't know what that is, Matthew. Yeah, you got work to do. That's basically what happened, Rachie. There is a way of interpreting it in that manner. You don't have to. But it is a satisfying and purposeful interpretation for some. So I like to leave it on the table. Do they, Bridge? Is that why the American people revolted against their king? Heard that, Matthew. Well, why ending? This isn't where I'm going to end. Heard that, Matthew. You would know that, Rachie. I should almost be finished with this live just so you guys who are going to work will actually go to work. I believe that, Rachie. You're slapping more bass today? I named my bass Betty, so I could tell people that I was gonna go finger Betty. Thanks, Betty. All right, I'm off to pick Betty's G-string. Noodle canoodle Betty, that's right. Yeah, it's time. I gotta get off of here. I'm cold. I'm more cold than I am comfortable, which means that if I'm sitting here wiggling my toes to make sure they don't fall off, it's time to get off of here and get warm. So I love you. Thank you guys very much. I was hesitant about feeling like doing anything video game related that was recorded tonight. Yeah, turn of phrase, for sure. Egregore. And you have a good one too. Companion is a good word for me. Um, thank you guys for the conversation. Thank you for helping me keep my mind off the cold, because it was going to be difficult tonight to game through it and just pretend it wasn't happening. And so I was going to end up bitching about how cold it is into the mic. Love, peace, and chicken grease for sure. Thank you guys. If you miss me, you can always find the other people who miss me on the Discord or the Patreon, including Christopher. I would love it if we could get some well wishes on the Patreon chat to Christopher. I can't be the only person who has him in my heart and mind, and I don't think I don't think he's paying me to check in on him and make sure he's good. I think he likes supporting the channel for what the channel offers. So I would just love it if we could get that to happen. So that requires subscription. I think he is on Discord now. So if you join the Discord, just put up a big love for Lenny and a big love for Chris. They need it. They're just two bros going through the world right now who need some big love. I don't know that I saw Eric today. Eric is trying to catch up with where I'm at in 7 Days to Die, which is also part of why I feel like I've beaten it. I feel like it's time for me to let my friends catch up to where I am in my skill level. I always do this. In fact, Kingdoms of Amalur, the game that I'm playing right now on the channel, was the first and maybe the only game that I didn't do this. Usually when I have a girlfriend, a friend, a sibling who's also playing the game I'm playing, and I get way ahead of them, and I get really good at it, and they start playing and want to talk about it, I'll stop until they've beaten it, and I may never pick it back up again, because I get in my head about not not them not comparing what they're doing in the game to what I'm doing in the game, because I'm doing cooler shit. So check out Kingdoms of Amalur. 7 Days to Die is going to be different after episode 16 might never come, so don't hold your breath for episode 16. Um, Other than that, the members uh, have access to a new Final Fantasy V that'll be on the regular channel on Saturday. And today I'm gonna be working on getting Kingdoms of Amalur ready for the regular channel. So, thank you. I appreciate it, especially. I should have remembered his name. I feel really bad. It's less than 15 degrees Fahrenheit here right now, but I made $40 tonight. That was very cool of him. I'm glad that he enjoyed the show. It means a lot to me to be able to say that at the end of the day. Like, okay, not only did we have good conversation, but I can count on being able to eat next month. Thank you all. Be well. I'll be around. If you miss me, you can find the other people who miss me in the Discord or the Patreon. Otherwise, I have other videos on the channel, and I'll be awake later today. Take care.